yeah.
What do you miss about it?
What do I miss about it? Probably more than anything, maybe like the restaurants and family and that sort of thing.
What do you prefer about Florida?
I think the weather in Florida is much nicer for the most part. I hate really, really cold weather. And in Pittsburgh, you have some times of the year that are just like unbelievably cold and snowy and hard to drive, and I don't like that.
Do you miss the hills?
I really don't miss the hills, no.
It's pretty flat here.
I like it being flat. I feel safer when it's flat.
Except when we get our major flood that's going to come. Our nice wave that'll put Florida underwater.
Oh, really? When is that going to happen?
Probably really soon.
Why do you say that? It's not true. Like a tsunami or something?
Yeah.
No, we're not going to have a tsunami.
Hurricane will put us under.
No, I don't think so.
Yep.
No.
Prediction.
You're just saying that. It's not true.
So what areas in Pittsburgh have you lived in?
I lived in the North Hills, and I lived in Shadyside, and I guess I lived in O'Hara Township. I don't know what that's considered. So I lived by Fox Chapel High School at one point. I lived in numerous places in Shadyside, which is hands down my favorite place to live. And I lived in Allison Park, and I at one point lived also in, I'm trying to think what it was called, somewhere out Route 8, let me think, Pine Township, Richland Township, I lived there.
Say some things you like about Pittsburgh.
I like that it's diverse as far as like there's a lot of ethnic groups that live in Pittsburgh, so there's a lot of Italians that have really good Italian restaurants, and then you can get the Italian builder, and then you can get the Italian mover. You can get like different ethnic groups do different things differently, I guess, and they have different gifts or whatever, and you find that in Pittsburgh. German restaurants or
So are they all separated
Jewish
into
delis.
areas?
They kind of are a little bit. It's probably much more diverse today.
Like Epcot Center?
Kind of like Epcot Center. You have one area that are all the Italians. You have one area that's all the Catholics. You have one area that's all the Jewish people. You
Well,
have
why
one
would
area-
the Italians? What's different about? What do you mean Catholics?
Well, a lot of
the
the
re- how-
Italians
what do
are
you-
Catholic.
Yeah, but why would you say Italians and then Catholics?
Oh, well, it's just like religion and
But maybe what if like majority of the Catholics are, let's say, Hispanic? Would they just live in one area, or would all the Italian Catholics live amongst the Hispanic Catholics, or would the Italians live and then the Hispanics live in another?
it seems to be in Pittsburgh, and I don't know if it's still like that, but it seemed to be a bit segregated. You know.
So you like that?
No, I didn't. That's why I like living in the city, because I like the mix. I like the mix of people. I like being next to somebody that was Jewish, or next to somebody that was Italian, or next to somebody that was
But
Hispanic.
Jewish, why do people say that when they talk about a Jewish person? That's not really... Why do people say Jewish like it's a nationality?
I really
Why is that?
I don't know.
It's not a nationality, but people say, oh, they'll say I'm Italian, I'm Jewish. Like,
Well,
you don't ever hear a Catholic person say, I'm Catholic.
I don't know. I don't know.
Why wouldn't they say, like, if they were,
Well, I
like,
guess-
from Jerusalem or something like
Well,
that? Why would
maybe for some people religion comes first. You know, maybe for some people religion is the most important thing. But for me, like my Catholic
But people
upbringing-
don't do that. Like you hear people when they ask about nationalities a lot of times, a lot of people will say, like, if they're Jewish, they'll say, I'm Jewish. But most other people, like, it's a religion. So why would you say that? Like, you wouldn't, if someone asked me my nationality, I don't know what my religion is, but if I would say Catholic, I wouldn't say I'm Catholic if someone asked me my nationality. But Jewish people a lot of times will say I'm Jewish. That's not a nationality. That doesn't make sense.
Well, That's a good question. I know a lot of Jewish people have to ask them where their heritage is from. I mean, it could be from all different
It's like
parts.
the Jewish mother that doesn't want their son to marry any girl except the Jewish girl. Why is that?
Well, I guess sometimes people want their kids to marry within the faith or whatever, but to me that doesn't matter. I think it's almost more interesting to marry outside of the faith to sort of bring two groups together that maybe wouldn't have naturally come together. Like, I think it's interesting whenever maybe, say you were seeing somebody that was Japanese, or you were seeing somebody that was actually from Italy, or you were seeing somebody that was actually from Saudi Arabia. I think that would be actually more interesting, because then it brings like...
But you're talking about countries now, not religions again.
Well, you know, it's hard for me to talk about religion, because my only religion that I'm really, really familiar with, and I'm really not that familiar with that religion.
Thing you should really never talk about is religion.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, it's tricky. I mean, I wish, honestly, that, I mean, I think that all people need religion. I think religion is a good thing, especially if you don't have a good, stable family. It's good to believe in, I mean, I truly believe there is something, or God, or whatever it is. I do believe. But I think when you take human beings and put them into that situation, a lot of times people start to take advantage of people's feelings and take advantage of people's insecurities or whatever, and then they try to take money from them or make them feel uncomfortable in some way. I just think it's weird. I went to Catholic school, and there was never a nun that was especially nice to me. There was never a priest that was especially nice, and I had like a really tricky childhood where I think that as a elementary school teacher or a priest or whatever, they would have had to see that I was maybe having a bit of a stabilized problem of some sort, but nobody ever sort of, you know, came to me and said, you know, honey, are you okay, or whatever. One time we had a fire at our house, and I smelled like fire all day at the school. And nobody even came up to me and said, are you okay? I heard there was a fire at your house. I mean, I just felt like I had absolutely zero support in that Catholic school, which I'm sure I learned how to read or write or whatever I did there was like fine, but I don't have any like warm and cozy good feelings about it.
Yeah.
Like I would think that you should have in a school situation.
Yeah. Most teachers I've had, like in elementary school and growing up, were very nice and very supportive, and they were never mean or anything. They always really liked me.
Well, you were the perfect child. You were the perfect child. I would go to the
I was always very polite, very shy until I got home, right?
Right.